the hardest questions to answer as a business owner is what sets you apart? What is your unique value proposition? Your unicorn factor. A lot of coaches talk about it. A lot of business owners talk about it, but most of us are too afraid to identify what is unique about us and what sets us apart from the competition. It's even harder when you are in a direct sales company and you sell the exact same product as like everybody else. So it really makes you wonder, like, what is different about me? And it makes it hard to feel like you can set yourself apart. The problem, of course, is that if you aren't able to set yourself apart from your customers, like from your competition, then your customers aren't gonna be able to tell you apart either, right? So you have to be able to tell them why they should pick you. Otherwise, why would they pick you? And that is one of the biggest issues that we have as business owners, because frankly, we don't often think of it that way. And especially for my market, which is people like me, we have self-esteem issues. So we're not really used to saying, look at me and how amazing I am and how wonderful I am and I have all the best stuff. And we're not used to saying things like that. So for us, it feels a little odd. So it's so much easier for us to just rely on the product itself and be like, buy this amazing product and just lean on it for the support. It's a lot easier to do that than it is for us to say, listen, I am providing you with a unique experience, or I am providing you with a unique perspective, right? So let's think about like using clothes as an example, because that's sort of where when I first started with target audience and understanding why this makes such a huge difference, this is where I learned it, right? So let's say that you sell clothes. I've heard and I've said myself that, clothes are, our clothes are flattering. They're fashionable and they're comfortable and they're in style and they're budget friendly. Okay. So let's say those are the ones that's how I choose to talk about my clothes that I used to sell. I've just described the same clothes that are sold by 150,000 other stores in America, right? So if we use fashion, comfortable, budget friendly, flattering, I've literally listed 150, that describes 150,000 stores in America. Like that is no different from anybody else. So if I was to use that as my marketing, that they're fashionable and they're flattering and they're cheap or inexpensive, then I'm not setting myself apart. Anyone who looks at me is just going to see me in a sea of other people who look like me, and they're just going to throw a dart and pick someone at random, which means that I have as much likelihood as being chosen as somebody, a star in the sky does, of being chosen as a store. So that doesn't really help me much. But a lot of our efforts go in that direction. So you can see how you may be doing a lot of things, but not seeing a lot of results because you're really positioning yourself the same way as everybody else does. So what I want you to really think about is what John Morrow calls his 2 a.m. test, which is when you think about your customer, right? What keeps her up at night at 2 a.m. while everybody else is sleeping? So everybody else is asleep and she's up on her phone, right? And for me and my audience, the things that you guys think about, like when you can't sleep or, what do I post tomorrow? What do I need to do tomorrow? Is there anything that I need to take off my list? How am I going to fit everything in? I need to get ready for my sale. Like what if nobody buys anything? Oh my God, I'm going to be homeless. Like we go through this entire series of things in our brain and you think about those things at night, right? So for me, my goal is to help you solve those problems while you're so that you can sleep at night, right? I want you to be able to sleep at night. For your market, it might be something else. So for clothes, going back to clothes, right? And we talked about this in an earlier video, that for me, I really had such self-esteem issues. I hated my body. Like I remember there was a time where a woman asked me if I was pregnant and I was not pregnant. And I burst into tears because I could not, for me, it was just so painful at the time. Now I look back and I'm a different person now, but back then that was my biggest pain point and it would keep me up at night. Like I remember when I would sleep, right? I would lay on my side and I could feel the weight on my stomach, like hanging a little bit, right? So I could feel the weight and I could feel that feeling and I would be like, I'd be saying things to myself and just negative self-talk. That's what kept me up, right? Now, so for my functional nutritionist, that was my pain point, right? That was what was keeping me up at night. For my sister, right? The pain point there was, I may not like the way my body looks, but I can love the way it looks in clothes. I can love the way I show up. I can dress myself differently, right? So for her, the real key in terms of her marketing was about, we can help you love the way you dress yourself, right? Things like that. So what is keeping your audience up at night about your product, about the problem that they are facing? Not the typical stuff that you'd usually use for your product, which is, usually going to be very, very generic. We really want to dig deep and think about that person and what makes her feel really, really bad about herself. Now, it's important to keep in mind, though, that the reason why this is so important in understanding where their pain point is and how you can help them is because you only have 3 seconds to get your audience's attention once they come to your page. So when they get to your page, you literally just have a blink. It's a blink of an eye, right? And if they don't get what they need in that blink of an eye, they're usually going to bounce off, right? Now, depending on how they find you, they'll be more or less likely to stay longer. Okay, so think about the ways in which people find you. They find you in 4 different ways. The first way is personal referral. Okay, so a friend tells you, hey, Manessa is a great coach, go check her out. Okay, so that's a personal referral. When you get a personal referral, that brings with it a lot of trust. So when someone refers me to you, as a friend of yours or someone that you trust, then you are more likely to spend time on my page. So rather than just a blink of the eye and then disappear, you're going to spend 5-10 minutes on the page because someone that you trust referred me, and you're going to give me that extra 10 to 15 minutes because of the trust you have with your friend. But let's assume instead that you found me because it was a social media referral or a website referral or something like that, right? Well, that you're going to be like, well, she's clearly getting herself up here and she's clearly out in this world, so she's trusted. But you trust me a little bit less than you would if a friend had referred me. So you might go to my page, look at it. You might look at it for more than 3 seconds, maybe a few minutes, but you'll give me a few more minutes just because of the trust that I got because I was suggested a recommended page. It could be a third option on a website social media referral. The suggested page from Facebook where they're suggesting a page to you, that's a third option. And that one is also going to have a little bit less trust than a website referral, a lot more less trust than a personal referral, which means you'll stay on for lesser time. And then the one where you're going to spend the least amount of time is my social media web funnel, where you happen to see an ad or you click on something randomly, you go in, you see it, and you're like, okay, that's the blink test, right? So you have between a blink and about 10 minutes, depending on how they find you and how long they're going to stay. Most people are coming with the blink of an eye type thing. So you've got to get them fairly quickly. But in order to get them quickly, you need to know what makes you special about the product that you sell, setting yourself apart. So to help you identify that, we've put together a worksheet that is included in this section, which is, what has your experience been with your product or brand competitors? Okay, so I want you to really think about your experiences buying the same product or with the same service that you offer, right? I want you to think about the learning stage. Do I want to buy this? How well did they do that? What did you like? What didn't you like? Was it a fit? Was it a good fit for you? Or was it like, were you able to tell that? Was it easy to buy, or did you find it really hard to buy? Did you know where the button to check out was? Like, what did that process look like? What was the support like? Did you feel support? Did you need help? Did you reach out to them? When you did they respond quickly, nicely? Were they polite, friendly? What did you hate? What did they do to keep you, right? Did they do anything to keep you? Did you get a retention email? Did they check in with you to see how you were doing? Like, what did they do to keep you as a customer of theirs, right? You want to create confidence in what you sell, which means you need to know those things, right? You need to know what things you didn't like about the last experience that you had. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the clothes example because that's sort of where all this started. So many moons ago, years ago, when Sarah got married, so it's probably about 15 years ago, I had just been on an archaeological dig. I came back from the archaeological dig and I went in to buy my bridesmaid's dress. And I remember this vividly because Sarah's wedding was the next day. I didn't have time before that because I had literally just gotten back. And I went in and I got Pretty Woman. They were like, I don't think we have anything for you here. David's Bridal. And I'm like, you know what? I was like, go back yourself, right? But I remember how that made me feel. And that happened again in a dress barn because I went in my pajamas and somebody said, I can't remember what it was. I literally don't remember, but I made a social media post that day because I was like so enraged. But basically she Pretty Woman me as well. And for me, that's such a negative experience, right? I will never go to a dress barn again, and David's Bridal's gone, but I would never walk into a David's Bridal again, right? Specifically because I don't ever want to be treated that way again. That experience was piss poor for me. So now I knew that whenever somebody would walk into my boutique, I don't care what the heck you're wearing. You are always going to be treated like you are worth $1 million, right? That is how I set myself apart. I set myself apart by saying, I don't care whether you walk in here and you are overweight or you're underweight or you hate your body or you love your body. I'm going to treat you like a princess and like you are spending millions of dollars with me because you deserve that, right? That's how I set myself apart. You've got to ask yourself the question, what did you dislike about your experiences before that you can make better in your business? So your homework for this lesson is to download the handout and then fill out the form in there. Fill out the sections in there that will walk you through the process of identifying what your experience was like purchasing a similar product in your sphere before and what you did or didn't like about that experience. This is also a great time for you to ask your friends, your family members, your community members, like, what do you or don't you like about these experiences, so that you can start to get an idea of how you may be able to set yourself apart. Once you're able to do that, then you're going to be able to confidently talk about what you do without word vomiting in such a way that's going to get people to ask you, how do I buy?